Everybody, it is me, Shaniqua Cannon of Shaniqua CTV, and I am here with Camille Telicia Gordon, one of our Ready to Rock stars, and she's here to talk about her tragedy and how she became triumphant through it all. Now, we've heard some pretty deep tragedies, but there's also something just called life. And so, Camille, I invite you to tell us your story and help us walk through it.
Hey everyone, Shaniqua, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this summit. It's interesting that I really want to say this is probably one of the first platforms, maybe the second, that I am really even sharing this part of my story. So my tragedy, just jumping right into it, and then I'll give you some backstory, but my tragedy for me was actually the passing of my mother from stomach cancer and everything that came with that whole experience. So in 2015, May of 2015, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer. I was living in LA at the time. I was working in corporate America, I had a full-time job, working for an IT company doing operations. Also kind of starting my coaching business, and it was like a side hustle that I wasn't super focused on. And when my mom called me, I think within 10 days, she lived in Atlanta at the time, and so within 10 days, I was in Atlanta. Like, I packed up my apartment, found a subletter, and I was on the road because my mom was sick, and I didn't know if I was coming back to LA, when I was coming back. My boss was very understanding. That is one of the perks of working for a tech company, is that you can still work no matter where you are. So I was really fortunate to be able to tell my boss what was going on. He was understanding. He said, go take care of your mom. We'll figure out your hours and everything to work. So I drove across the country from LA to Atlanta in 2.5 days. By myself with a car full of stuff. A beautiful, fun experience, but a little bit stressful given the context and the reason why I was traveling. I made it here safely, and I'm so grateful that I was able to do all of those things, because my mom was diagnosed in May, and in February she passed away. So that was, I'm not going to do the math. I think it was about 8 months, if I'm not mistaken, from diagnosis to passing. And during that time, I was fortunate enough to be her caregiver with my sister, and also help take care of my brother, who at the time was 12. But it was also one of the hardest things that I've ever had to go through in my life, because being a caregiver to anybody, but especially someone you love, someone who took care of you, someone who is your best friend, but also you butt heads with like this, because we have similar personalities. It was a really, really tough time. And I was still working on launching my business at the same time. And it was a struggle. Like, during that time, I wasn't taking care of myself. Like, when I left LA, I had been working out, I was eating great, I was doing all these things. And in focusing on taking care of my mom, it was like I fell to the back burner. Like, I gained weight, I was frustrated a lot, I was really stressed, it was just a lot of emotional things going on. And I was also in a position where I had to be the strong one. I'm the oldest child. My mom is sick. I'm my little sister, my little brother. So I'm taking care of everyone. I have to be the rock. So I was really in a space where I was strong for everyone else, and I was supportive for everyone else. And I fell to the wayside as far as my priorities. Like, I was building my business, but I want to say after November, when things started to get really bad, and it was like she kind of just took a turn. And 1 minute we were, there was hope that chemo was going to be making some progress, and then it was like it just stopped working. And I'm pretty sure I just stopped working on my business at that same time as well, because priorities change. Like, my mom is sick, I need to be here. Like, I need to be here for her. And it's unfortunate that during that time, I did stop, because she was very proud that I was building this business, and she was my number one encourager throughout that time. So of course you can imagine just how much more devastating it was when she did pass, because it's like my biggest cheerleader is now no longer with me physically. And so I stopped working on my business. I wasn't really taking care of myself. And when she passed in February, not only did I lose my mom, but I also became a parent at the same time, because we had always discussed, my brother is 18 years younger than me. So it was always understood, but never really expected that anything happens to mom, I'm going to take care of brother. And so something did happen to mom. And so my entire life shifted. Not only had I moved across the country, I had moved 1,000 miles or more. I, was working and I had a whole life in LA on the beach, living that life. And I became a parent and a caregiver, almost overnight. And so dealing with that was a struggle. And I remember during that time, because I have a psychology degree, I have a counseling background from in the past, so I knew I was going through things, and I knew that I was showing signs of, situational depression for what was going on. And I even tried out it was new at the time, it was a mobile psychology or counseling app called Talkspace. And so I signed up for that and was trying to talk to someone, but it was like you could only text them. And I was just not in the headspace to really even be able to articulate what was going on, how I was feeling. All I could say was like, I'm just so stressed and I have so much going on. But I didn't even feel like I deserved at that time to think about myself, because my mom is fighting for her life. So how dare I get caught up in my feelings because I'm stressed out that I had to stay up late, or I had to wake up and make her some tea, or that I am trying to come up with products and also still work my full-time job during the day. I don't have it was a lot of woe is me conversation. And then at the same time, how dare you? And that is a very dangerous combination, I can say, especially when you're going through situations like that, some tough things. And so one of the things I'm grateful for during that time is the fact that I still had my siblings there to kind of keep me grounded and like reality check. You can't go down that rabbit hole. So anyways, moving forward. So in February, she passed. 2 weeks before my 30th birthday. So it was like a milestone birthday. Her funeral we had 4 days before my birthday. So I was just really in the thick of it, And after everything happened, I really feel like I was just numb from probably January until about April, because what happened was in April, my cousin had told me about a life coach that she had worked with and had a family healing session with for her husband's side of her family, and that she was based in Atlanta. She was like, she's so great. You need to just call her, just talk to her even one time. She'll shift some things for you. So I was like, okay. I sat on it for a month and a half. Finally decided to reach out, went to the first session and was like, where's my homework? Like all we did was talk. And she listened and I'm like, yeah, I'm building this business and my mom just died. But like, I'm numb because I'm telling her my mom died and I'm telling her everything I'm going through. And it's like, there's no emotion behind it. It's just like, this is what's happening in my life and this is where I am. And I'm trying to get my business right now because I'm about to quit my job, which I did, which was amazing. But after I started working with her towards the end of April, and then I ended up quitting my job May 16, 2016. I remember that. And it was amazing. Like I already knew that I wanted to be full-time entrepreneur, and I was just ready. Like having gone through what I went through with my mom and seeing her not be able to accomplish some of the dreams that she had. Like my mom always wanted to finish her bachelor's degree. And so she had started before she got pregnant with me. And she got pregnant and she stayed in classes for a little bit in community college. But then of course she became a mom. She got the full-time job. She and my dad, they got married, they moved. She went back to school, was still going part-time while I was growing up. But then life happens, another child happened. And so she wasn't able to finish that I don't think she never fully completed the bachelor's degree, but she did complete her associate's degree in 2012, which was amazing. And we were so proud of her. She was proud of herself because that was one of the steps that she was trying to do. But, you know, she had bigger dreams. She was like, she wanted to open an event space. She wanted to write a book. She wanted well, she was a realtor and she wanted to build that business and be able to do that full time. And she just had these dreams that she never got to see through because life happened and she prioritized life and her family over her own dreams. And so after she passed, and even though I was in my numbness, I still knew that no matter what, like, I cannot allow her legacy, the sacrifices that she made, the choices that she made for her family, for me, because I was the first one who made her stop. And I was like, I can't let that go to waste. And so this is my opportunity to focus on building this business that she started. Well, she saw me in the building phases of it, you know, when I'm recording videos in the kitchen late at night and I was doing lives, and she would come, she would look, or she'd come sit on the bed with me while I'm writing notes sometimes. And so it's just, I could not let that go to waste. And so that was part of the reason why I quit my full-time job, because I was like, I'm like, this is it. I'm focusing on my dream. And so my coach helped me to process my grief and process the guilt that I had around, did I do a good enough job taking care of her? I could have been nicer this day. Why did I let myself get frustrated this day? So I had to find someone who could help me really work through all of those limiting beliefs, thoughts, you know. Okay, so when I got with my life coach, she was able to help me work through and process those limiting beliefs, the accusations I was making up towards myself. Like, I was really beating myself up internally, and sometimes I wasn't even aware of it. I was just in a funk. Like, I was just in this, like, you know, this is life, whatever. Like, okay, I'm working on things, but really I wasn't connected to anything. Like, I'm sitting here telling people, oh, you need to be empowered, and I'm trying to make you feel happy about your life and about your business and be excited, but I wasn't excited really on the inside. And so my life coach helped me work through that and actually get back to a place where I could be excited, where I was back taking care of myself, because I started working out again. I started looking at the foods that I was eating again. Like, I started meditating again, something I hadn't been doing probably during the month, especially the final months. Like, I stopped doing those things that kept me grounded, kept me focused, kept me peaceful, kept me calm, kept me sane, because, you know, my priorities shifted and I was focusing on my mom, and you know, that happens, but I was able to regroup, which I'm really grateful for. And as I continued to build my business and was working through things, because, you know, then you have, oh, the first birthday and then the first anniversary of her death. And I still am in life coaching. That has not stopped. But at one point, I also hired a business coach, because even though I was coaching people on their businesses, I was at a point where, because I was working through my life stuff, I couldn't always see clearly for my own business. And so I got the outside assistance for that as well. And it was really helpful, because the time when I had my business coach, I was coming up on one of the anniversaries. And so I was really grateful to have support on both ends, where I can talk to my life coach about the life stuff that's happening and how it feels. And then I could talk to my business coach about the business stuff that was happening and the stagnation that I was having, because I was deep in these emotions, even though sometimes I wasn't even aware that that's what I was feeling. But then it's like, well, why aren't you doing X, Y, Z? Why haven't you done this? I'm like, I don't know. And so I had resources, and I had these people in my life who I could talk to, who could help me work through all these things, so that now I have a business. I'm excited. I'm helping people. You know, I have a mastermind group that helped me get clarity on things that I like, the direction I was going in my business. They were the ones who told me, okay, so you don't just coach people on your business, you help them with transforming everything and transforming their mindset and all of that, and helping me write a book. In the group, I mean, even Shaniqua, she helped me get clarity on what I was talking to people about, what I wanted to say to them, and the fact that I needed to put it in book form, and I finally did last year. And if you pick up a copy of my book at any point, you will see a shout out to Shaniqua in there. So I'm telling you, part of the biggest, the biggest, I think, tool for me that helped me get over my tragedy, and not over because, I mean, I lost a parent, so this is not anything I'll ever get over, but help me work through it to a point where I could be most of myself again, was having people around me. So I had the coaches, I had the group of women who I could come and talk to about the business stuff and talk to about emotional stuff, and I can go process with my coach and get encouragement and tough love from her, and then I can go talk to the business coach and get some strategies and systems from her. And it really just helped me get to this place now where I can even feel comfortable talking about my story, because this really is not, I don't share it in its entirety. Most people, they'll know, oh, my mom has passed away because I'm now a parent to my brother, so I take care of my brother. So there's always a little bit of an explanation, but the reality is nobody has heard all of this together in its totality. And so I'm grateful, because without all of them, I would not be here sharing this with you guys today. And so I don't ever wish anyone to lose their parents, but we, you know, the reality of life is that loss happens. And so I would encourage anyone, even if you're not building a business, even if you might just be working your corporate job and just trying to push through life after it happens, number one thing, while you are being a caregiver, also take care of yourself. It's going to be difficult. You're going to think, I don't deserve to take this time off. I don't deserve to go get my nails done today because such and such is fighting for their life, or such and such is really sick. Such and such is in so much pain. And why how dare I think of myself? But let me tell you, you have to, because the last thing you want to do is pour from a half full or an empty cup, which is what I did, and end up feeling depleted, end up being unhealthy, end up not feeling great about yourself because you stopped taking care of you in that moment because you're putting them before you. And so you have to be able to feel okay with loving up on somebody, giving them a lot of love, but also making sure you take the time out to love up on yourself. Number two, if you can get somebody to talk to, whether it is a licensed counselor, therapist, or a life coach like I did, the sooner the better. If you can't do it while you are in the midst of taking care of, fully understand, because sometimes it is more of a full-time job. But if you can, find somebody, talk to them, allow yourself a safe space to vent and release and process what you're going through, and make sure that you do it with somebody who has the tools to not take it on. Because the last thing you want to do is dump on a friend or a family member who's like, hey, are you okay? And they want to listen and they care. And so they're willing to take on your stuff, but not everyone is capable of hearing what you have to say and not taking it on and taking on that energy and letting it impact them. So I encourage you, even though it's easier to talk to friends and family, I would definitely say try to find somebody who is a professional or who has already had some training or understanding of what it's like to not, to be a container, but not a dump, if that makes sense. So you don't drop your stuff on them and then you are good and they're sitting there feeling like crap. So you definitely want to do that. And then also don't be afraid to ask for the help and seek out the help, and take people's recommendations. If somebody sees that you need help and they make a recommendation, don't take offense to it. Because I could have easily taken offense. My cousin was like, you should talk to this life coach. For what? I'm good. Don't you see me? But no. But I was open. I was like, okay. I mean, I wasn't ready at the moment when she said it, but I always kept it in the back of my mind. And when I was ready, I sought out help. And so, yes. And self-care all the time. Meditate, work out, go to the spa, get a massage, take care of yourself no matter what, and keep your eye on your dreams. Don't let anything, no circumstance, allow you to shift focus completely. Like you may shift over here and kind of keep it in your peripheral, but don't ever turn your back on what your dreams are and what your goals are, because you deserve it. And I guarantee you, your loved ones never want to see you not accomplish your dreams. And with that, I am complete.
Actually, that was pretty darn good. I like how you ended. It was a nice transition out. And I know you have some questions, so I have some questions too. Let's go back through these notes. I took a buku. Boku. Let me say my French right. Boku. So you were talking about this drive, right, from LA to Atlanta in 2.5 days?
Yeah. I started on Saturday night. I left LA and I drove to Phoenix, spent the night in Phoenix, drove Phoenix to Dallas that Sunday, Dallas to Atlanta that Monday.
That's insane. So what was your headspace then? Because, like I've had an experience losing somebody pretty close to me, my grandfather. Yeah. And I remember I don't remember getting from South Beach down to, I think it was the hospital. I think I went to the hospital. And I cannot tell you much about that drive, except I wouldn't allow myself to give into the thoughts on that. So what was your headspace? Like, how did you deal with it, this initial reaction of hearing that she is in a place where it just might be too bad?
Yeah, and it's funny because like I really haven't thought about this much. I don't rehash that part too much, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think like the day or two before I headed out, she ended up having to be admitted to the hospital, and I don't remember what was going on. So it was one of those things where I just remember when I got to Atlanta, and my aunt had flown up from Miami, and so she was at the house with my brother because my mom was in the hospital. I remember I saw my aunt, hugged everybody, and then I just like fell on the floor because it was like finally I just released apparently what was a whole lot of stress and tension, just like this, that I was driving for 2.5, 3 days and didn't even realize how tense I was. I mean, I tried during the drive to enjoy it and play my music and, do all these little things and like take a couple pictures. So to be present in that moment, I'm like, I am driving across America. Yeah. But the reality is like I had no idea what I was getting ready to walk into and what I was going to see. The only thing is I knew my life was not going to be the same ever again, because no matter what, like things were not going to be the same. And so, yeah.
I can't, like I said, I can't remember. So I can't even imagine having to make a 2.5-day trip by yourself. That just is a testimony to like the strength that you embodied at this time, especially because now you have to be caregiver and at the moment surrogate parent while your mom was going through this. What were some of like the fondest parts of your mom that you can remember from that particular time?
And I said this already, but like I am so grateful for those 8 months, because up until probably like November, there were a lot of great moments. It was just family moments. Like I remember I had just recently gotten on this sewing kick where I was like learning how to sew my own clothes. So my mom had taught me to sew when I was a kid. And so she loved the fact that I was getting back into it. And I remember we used to go to the fabric stores and we bought all these fabrics and patterns, and we had plans, honey. We had plans. I mean, I think I made a couple skirts and like some pants. I remember my mom, she likes to sew from patterns. So she was very precise and was making this pleated skirt, and I'm doing all this. My mom was very like just bougie a little bit, but just very elegant in her sense. And so she's like, like this is the pattern that I'm using, and here's my fabric and all of this. And so it was really cute when she finished the skirt. I still have it in the closet. That's never going anywhere. And she was excited about it, so that was one that was fun. Another time I had cooked brunch for some of my friends in Atlanta, because I am from Atlanta somewhat. And so I do have friends and stuff here. And so we had a girls' brunch. My mom came down and I made these scrambled egg whites. And she opens up the plate. She was like, "You serving popcorn?" My friends just they died. They were like, "What? Like what?" So, that was cute. And there's this one memory I have of my mom. She didn't even know that I saw her, but she was very spiritual and religious, and strong faith in God. And one morning she was downstairs and she had her gospel music going, and she was just in the kitchen just praising and worshiping by herself, clapping her hands. And she had these little braids, these single braids, not like the hairstyle, but just kind of like plaits that you put when you go to bed. And I just remember she was just shaking, her head was shaking, her little braids were flying, and she was like so joyful, and she was so cute because she was small, she'd lost a lot of weight, but in that moment, just seeing her still finding joy and still finding the strength to praise and worship. And it was just like, it's one of my favorite just kind of memories from that time of seeing her.
I find that really interesting, that you said still finding joy. And so is that something that you now work to do, is to find that joy?
Absolutely.
And how important do you think that is?
I mean, I think because she was able to find joy in the moments, during her whole sickness, finding joy in having her kids, all her kids under one roof, and, having family come. Honestly, I think that's why she was able to last as long as she did, because the joy is what gives you the energy. It's what fuels you. It's really, if you allow it to, it can heal you in certain ways. And so I still try to find that now, because life, if nothing else, I've learned that life is short, and when you think that you're going to grow old with your mom and she's going to see grandbabies, not for me, but for my sister and brother, and all of that. And then to kind of have that taken away from you so quickly, it makes you realize that you have to be present. It made me realize, let me speak for myself. It made me realize that I have to stay present, and I have to be able to stay in the moment and find the joy and find the silver lining, find the sweet spots, even when sometimes I don't feel like it. I hope that answers that.
Yeah, that was a good answer, because a lot of people do get swept up in what's going on, especially when it's outside of their control. It's not something they can fix, so staying present is a really, really good point. So let's dial back a little bit, where you talked about that you recognize your signs of situational depression. Can you tell me what those signs are?
Now, it's been a long time since I was in psychology class, so these are check with your doctor. But for me,
Very important disclaimer.
Right. I don't have any licenses. Okay. But for me, I noticed that I was angry a lot at nothing. Like, it felt like it was just a constant state of anger. I was easily frustrated, and then I was really sad. And so, I wasn't feeling connected. And mostly for me, it was a lot of stress, because I feel like I'm one of those people who mostly deals with stress fairly well. I don't allow things to really take me out of my element too much, even when it is a lot going on. And I was out of my element. I couldn't focus. I was not finding the joy. to reference back. And I knew that if I didn't at least try to do something, that it could have spiraled. Like it could have easily spiraled as things were continuing to deteriorate, as my mom was continuing to, get sicker. Like I could have easily gone down that rabbit hole as well. And I couldn't afford to allow that to happen. And so that is what prompted me to first start seeking out some sort of outside help.
Okay, and that's a really strong point. You mentioned a couple of things a few times. One is to get that help, and more than getting the help, you said seeking the help, which is actively pursuing and trying to fix this problem. So I know that you put that in your tools when you were talking about what it is to do. But again, how important is it to seek out the help if it's not coming to you? How important is it to recognize that you need it and then to go find it? And how can you make sure that you're finding someone who is a container and not a dove?
So it is super important to seek out the help because a lot of times there's, especially strong people, those of us who are the rocks, we suffer internally. So no one is going to look at us and say, you might be going through something. Do you need to talk to someone? Should I can recommend somebody for you, because we continue to operate, life still goes on. Like you were saying about me being a surrogate parent, like I was going to parent teacher conferences and orientations and still showing up to do my job every day, and then still trying to do stuff, and build business visibility. So from the outside, most people probably like, she is handling this really, really well. So nobody knew that I was suffering. I mean, they know in the sense like your situation is tough, so I'm sure you're going through it, but you look like you're okay, so press on. And so it was an internal, battle. And so it's like, fortunately, because of the education that I had and the experience that I had in doing counseling at one point, like I was working with at-risk youth, I knew that I could not do alone. Like I had to have somebody help me with this at some point. And so that is why I had to seek it out. And so if you are feeling like you're dealing with something and nobody else knows that you're dealing with it and nobody else can see it, like that is a great sign that you should just find somebody to talk to. And honestly, like everybody should do it, even if you aren't going through anything. My life is pretty okay right now, and I still got stuff to talk about. There's always something to talk about. But in making sure that they are a good container, because honestly, not everyone is, even people who are in the profession. So there's nuance to it, but I think, unfortunately, it's not your responsibility to make sure that they're a good container. That's on them, because they are in that line of work. Obviously, you definitely want someone who shows you signs that they know how to take what you are giving them and release it. And hopefully, ideally, it's something that they will talk to you about in your first couple of sessions. Like I know it may have been the first one, if not at the second one at most, that my life coach was like, this is a safe space. You can tell me anything you need to tell me. There is no judgment here. And I have done the work. I know how. So when you leave, I don't even think she said it like that. I think she was like, these are the things I do to clear the energy in the space and prepare it for you, and then prepare it for the next person when you leave. And so those were kind of key words, how you know that they understand the impact of the type of work that they do, and the space that they're holding for people. Because if they aren't telling you how they are preparing for you and how they prepare themselves for their day, you may want to get a second, find a second referral, because it's important that whoever you work with knows how to be that container. It's important that they know, okay, to start my day off, I need to fill my cup up. Like if they're not telling you, I get up and I do this and I take care of myself this way and I get my energy right this way and I meditate or I work out or whatever it is they do to get centered. And when I come to the calls, I do this, or when I'm working with you, before I talk to you, I do this. And when you leave, I do this. Like if those little things don't come out, ask, number one, because maybe some people just don't remember to share things like that because it's a given. But if they don't have any sort of systems like that, I would maybe suggest that they do start, number one, if they're in that line of work, and then see if you have some other options for somebody who is already doing that, because that means that they're aware.
Good stuff. Absolutely good stuff. One of the things that you brought up before I get to the other thing is you said that you were the first one who made her stop her dreams, and you said that a couple times. How does someone not blame themselves?
By realizing that our choices are our own. Because even though I did say that, and it was more so in just creating the context for my story, but the truth of the matter is that it was still her choice at the end of the day. She could have easily chosen, maybe it wouldn't have been easy, but she could have made that choice to say, okay, even though I have this great full-time job, because I think that also was a factor, is that she ended up getting a good job and was full-time, and so she herself got comfortable, and she would have told you, like, I was making money, your dad was making money, we had a house, and then we have another child, like we were comfortable, we were good, it was not as much of a priority. And so it's like, yes, okay, I was a factor in her choice at that time to stop, but the reality is that ultimately I was a child. I was a baby. Like I didn't have any impact. So I think whether it's something as like that, where you're a baby and your parents make a decision, or you're an adult and your friend makes a decision, your spouse makes a decision, and it feels like they want to blame you for it, you have to remember that we are only responsible for ourselves at the end of the day. And we can be aware of how our choices impact other people, but we are still the only ones who are responsible. So I am only responsible for myself. If I stop working on my business tomorrow, I can't blame my brother. I can't blame no client. I can't blame no friend. I can't blame anybody but myself, because I ultimately made that choice. And so that, I think, is ownership is the easiest way to start realizing that blame is false.
Yes, and unfortunately, like, people do that. They absolutely blame themselves for something that is without, isn't within their control. So back to the thing that you did repeat a couple of times, is that you said that you didn't feel connected. And talk to me about how important, and it's really interesting that you touched on that, because in the anagram for this summit is reclaim your life, your power, your time, whatever it is for you. Own your story, and then connect to something outside of you, outside of yourself, and then knock down the negativity. So when you talked about not being connected, that's right on message. And so why do you think it's so important to be connected to? For you, it was people. But to something that is outside of you, out of your mind, out of your thoughts?
Connection is our whole purpose for being here on this earth, is to connect and to love each other. And so if you are so shut down or so numb or so much in your pain that you cannot connect, you don't feel like you're connecting with other people, you're walking around in this siloed experience where everything, like, you are by yourself, and you cannot thrive and prosper by yourself. Like, there's only so much you will ever be able to do by yourself. Like, you have to have people, you have to have support, you have to have love, like, you have to be able to give love and feel love, because that, if you think about what they say, the babies who don't have what is it, attachment, oh Lord, I don't know the words, but babies who don't connect with their mothers when they're babies, like, they don't thrive, or they're less happy, they're more angry when they grow up than babies who are, at the mom's at her chest or with her all the time, or, those sort of things. And so that doesn't change when you become an adult. If anything, I think it amplifies because we have more needs, more things come up, like more life things are happening, goals are bigger, challenges are bigger. And so without that connection, it's almost like nothing matters. And so it's so important to be able to connect with other people in any capacity. And honestly, this is something that I still am challenged with in a more like heart-centered way, not in that I don't care about people or anything like that, but in creating genuine connections with people, heart-to-heart connections. It's something that I am still breaking down my own barriers around, and I see the impact that it has even on my business. And this is like completely not related, it is related to my story, but like it's not even exactly what your question is, but it's like, if I don't know how to connect with people, then I can't speak to them. So I can't attract them into my business. They don't want to work with me. It's like, there's always a wall that they feel is like, okay, well, I like what she says. She seems like she knows what she's talking about, but there's just something, it's that something. And so that je ne sais quoi, but not in the good way, not in the sexy way. And so it impacts every area of your life if you don't find ways to be able to create connections. And so, it was important for me to really get back into
what you just said was really important. I mean, all of it has been, but one of the things that over the course of these conversations that people have been highlighting and pointing out is that those things that happened before do impact the now, and it's so in touch. So even for you, not being able to connect then became a barrier for your business, is not being able to connect now. So how do you help someone, because I know you are a transformational coach, not just a business coach, but transformational whole life, basically, coach. How do you help people recognize what those things are that are impacting their business that they thought had nothing to do with business? Because you said this has nothing to do with my business, and it's like, but then you were like, yes, it does. So speak on that for a little bit.
Honestly, it comes with listening and asking questions, because it was something that I didn't even have a full awareness of until my coach asked me the right questions and was able to say, hey, like, how is your business doing? Because I see that this is a problem in this area. How is your business? And so that it takes somebody outside listening to you and listening to what you're saying, and not that the connection is going to be your issue or somebody else's issue, but it's really about listening with a different ear and not just listening to, I couldn't make the video today. Like I couldn't go live today because I had XYZ going on. I couldn't go live last week and I had the content, but I couldn't do da. And then it's like, so are you afraid of something? Like, are you not wanting to be seen? Like, is this, like, do you feel like you have something to share or not? Like, do you feel like your words are worthwhile? And so it's listening and then asking the right prompting questions. And sometimes it helps if the person is ready and willing to do the introspective work, because there's only so much that I can help you uncover if you're not open to uncovering it and digging it up. And so my tactic is question based all the time, listening and asking questions.
Awesome. I do have a couple more questions, but you brought up this idea of limiting belief, or not this idea, but this concept of limiting beliefs. And some of those that you brought out, again, were kind of blaming ones, like, did I do a good enough job doing what it was that I needed to do, and beating yourself up. So again, I know this is part of your line of work. How can a person deal with those? How do they recognize them? And then what can they do to deal with them?
Well, recognizing them really comes from, for me, it was like, what am I hearing in my head a lot? And because I'm not even aware of it, but then I realize like it's this icky feeling, and then it's not even a front of mind top of mind thought. Sometimes it's something that's back here. It's just kind of playing on this tape recorder on repeat. And every now and again, it may come to the front of your mind because something triggers it. But ultimately, it's in the back. Like it's a belief because it's something that you feel in your body to your core. Like that's our beliefs are things that we hold near and dear and internalize, whether they are good beliefs like your faith and in belief in God or whoever your higher power is. And then it's those limiting beliefs that we're talking about, which are like, I'm not good enough. I didn't do a good enough job taking care of my mom. I'm not worthy of having other people care about me or taking time for myself. Like I don't deserve that. Those are the things in the back of my mind that, they can be tough to identify if you're not ready to identify them. So it really, once you make the choice and the decision that you want something to shift, it's like where I am right now is not working for me. I am ready to shift. That's when you will be able to start opening up and accessing these things, but not before, because it's not going to serve you to know that, oh, I don't believe in myself, because you are still deep in that. So it's not like, it's just going to be repeating. It's like, I don't believe in myself. Oh, I don't believe in myself. I am bullshit anyway. Like, I'm not worth it. So it's just, first you have to make the choice, the decision. And I don't remember the second part of your question.
Actually, no, you answered it. You said,
okay.
You did. You answered it right off the bat. So that was good. So just to go over again, the tools that you laid out is that, one, you said, while you're being a caregiver, take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Then you said, talk to someone, the sooner the better. Then you said, ask and seek out the help. So again, these could be two different sets of people, because you had a life coach and a business coach. And it could also be a licensed counselor, et cetera. And then you have action of self-care, which was like meditate, work out, go to the spa. A lot of people think self-care is just like getting your nails done or getting your hair done.
Which is cute.
It's part of it. It's part of it. But what happens when your hair gets messy, you know?
Right.
So it's the things that you actually do that action, right? And then what was really, really, really important, because I think it covers everything there, was to keep your eye on your dreams.
I did.
Yeah, you did. So, and in a stronger way, you said, don't turn your back on your dreams. So, if you keep your eyes on your dreams, then you are going to be a person who eventually wants to make that shift.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
This was really good. So how can we stay in touch with you? How can we reach you? How can we keep the conversation going? I know they can join us on our live, but what else can they do?
Okay, so I'm everywhere on social media as Camille Telicia. So whether you go to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I think even LinkedIn, possibly LinkedIn. I am Camille Telicia. Just search it, you'll find me, or you can look hashtag pink hair coach. Sometimes that'll pull up as well. And then my website, just in general, is www.CamilleTelicia.com. And you can find all that good stuff on my website, everything that I'm doing and working on right now. And if you would like to get one of my free resources that I have for you guys, it is actually a free ebook workbook that you can download. It is called How to Get Shit Done. And it's geared towards entrepreneurs, but honestly, anybody who has a goal and isn't making the steps or the progress that they want to and feel stuck can utilize this ebook. And you can download that by going to bit.ly, and that's bit.ly / capital G, capital S, capital D, lowercase workbook. And again, that is bit.ly / capital G, capital S, capital D, lowercase workbook. That link is case sensitive, so I did want to be specific about that, but that is available for you.
Well, that is awesome. I'm going to tell you guys, you do want to connect with her. Again, it's full life transformation. So if you are an entrepreneur and you're finding yourself doing the same exact things over and over again, you don't know what it is, there is a wall, a barrier, something invisible, this is definitely a person that you would want to contact. But again, you do have to make sure personalities align because she is going to get in your stuff. All right. So um, thank you, Camille, for joining us tonight and sharing the story that you rarely ever share.
Thank you.
It's going to change lives.